Is it possible for someone to steal your house? Well, a few dozen unfortunate property owners in the Greater Toronto Area have learned the hard way that yes, title fraud does happen, and your property could be listed and sold and closed without you ever knowing that this has taken place. But how can something like this happen in 2023 in a country with a modern real estate industry like we have here in Canada? Well, it requires a sophisticated criminal to perform a very sophisticated type of identity theft on so the criminals are going to pick their victims wisely. They're going to look for a property that's empty and doesn't have anybody living in it, and perhaps they'll pull title themselves and try and find a property owner that perhaps doesn't live in Canada, is a non-resident, and maybe only uses this property as a vacation property or perhaps as an investment property that they haven't tenanted yet. And then they're going to go and try and represent themselves as the seller and fool the realtors and lawyers and banks all the way through from listing the property to getting it under contract to finally closing on it at the lawyer's office. And so how does this happen? Well, realtors and lawyers are required to follow the FinTrack guidelines for identifying clients. There's a very definitive list of how real estate agents and lawyers have to go about doing this. But if you're dealing with a very sophisticated criminal that is able to falsify documentation and make themselves look like they are the seller to not only the realtor and then also through to the lawyer, then yes, I can see this type of fraud taking place despite all of the best efforts of the agents and lawyers in the deal. Now, when it comes time to closing, the buyer is being victimized in this too. They're coming up with their down payment, they're taking out a mortgage in their name to go and purchase a property that they think is being legitimately sold by either another realtor, and there's a lawyer on behalf of the seller that's there to make sure that the right person is signing off on all of the land transfer documentation and the payout of the mortgage is happening the right way too. So the buyer is unsuspecting in all of this, feeling like they're getting a square deal in all of this as well. But of course, the criminals now have not only tricked the realtors and the lawyers, but they're taking advantage of a business practice that exists across the whole country where lawyers can go and they will pay off the debts that exist on the title to a property. So they'll find out who or which bank is holding the mortgage. They contact the representatives of the bank. All of this contact information is well known within the legal community. They'll have a mortgage number from the registration that's on title. They'll receive feedback from the bank that has the mortgage with a payout statement that says they need this amount of money to be sent to this account and documentation to be provided to remove the mortgage from the title. And lawyers can go and do all of this without any identification or permission required between the bank and the mortgage holder themselves. It all works through the lawyer's office and the undertakings that they perform between the bank and the seller. So the criminals are taking advantage of this sort of snowplow, if you will, of the legal system, moving everything off of title on behalf of them because they've impersonated the seller and said, hey, lawyer, I want you to do all of this for me. So a very sophisticated form of fraud here that is no doubt taking place because of all of the frothiness and all of the money that's been made in the real estate market in the last several years here in Canada, and with parties outside of our country that are purchasing units that are staying vacant with nobody living in them while the equity builds up due to appreciating home prices, and then now some of the criminals are hanging around trying to victimize property owners and make off with their equity in all of this. So how can you protect yourself and your equity from being stolen from a criminal like this? Well, the easiest way to do this is to purchase title insurance. So title insurance is typically purchased at the time of closing by the buyer in a transaction and is normally done because there's some complication related to the deal. And it could be maybe the land titles office is backed way up, and if a house has changed ownership or has had some sort of modification to the title structure from several months ago that hasn't yet been reflected on the title, This stuff happens in the world of new construction and development quite often. Well, then the purchaser would go and purchase title insurance, and then oftentimes a seller will buy it for them so they can sell the house. But anyway, they'll purchase title insurance that will guard them against issues such as title fraud or something not coming through the way that it was represented to them when they went and did the deal. That's the easiest way to do this. Another way that you can protect yourself against title fraud is to register something on the title to your own property that will require you to be notified and sign off on this additional registration before it can be removed from title and title can be transferred to another party. And so if you're ever leaving the country or moving abroad or going to be out of contact for an very extended period of time, this is something that can be done whereby the lawyers cannot go and remove that caveat until they follow the instructions laid out within it, which could be as simple as a phone call and a separate acknowledgement by you as the title holder. So you could put your phone number on there, or they can mail you, or they can mail your lawyer as well to verify that you do in fact want to sell your house. And if you are the actual owner of a property and you do want to sell it, well, you'll be in the lawyer's office to legitimately sign off on everything anyways and can just remove this at the same time. So if you were ever nervous about your title insurance not being enough and you want that extra measure, then registering something on title requiring your acknowledgement can work as well for that. So I hope that this never happens to you, that you never have to be the victim of identity theft or title fraud. And I also hope that you found the video to be informative here today. So if you have, it'd be great if you could give me a like and perhaps a subscribe to the channel. And hopefully I will see you guys next video. Thanks a lot.